Everything about this place is my home.
Hello and welcome to the club. I'm your host Mars, and this is episode 3 of the Upper 90 Club, a roundtable discussion where 5 friends do a really good job until the last minute talking about the Columbus Crew. With me in the club tonight, I have Ben, Mort, Trey, and Haas. Say hi, guys.
I went to
Hi, guys.
Hamilton.
Hey, Mark.
Right. Ben didn't watch the game again. Instead of watching Hocus Pocus, he watched Hamilton. So he missed us.
Get your priorities straight, buddy.
Right. On today's show, we're going to relive the glory of gaining the lead and then relive the pain of losing it. We're going to review the table going into Decision Day this weekend. And so let's just jump right in. I know everyone saw the game in different ways tonight. Ben didn't watch it at all because he was at Hamilton.
So sorry.
Haas, how was your viewing experience?
So I would love to have a full reaction to the first half of the game. However, Bally Sports app dropped the ball. Trying to watch the game, clicking on the Crew game, it's sending me to the Cincinnati Reds game, sending me to the Guardians post game, sending me to the Cavs pregame, and eventually the Cavs game. Unable to watch the Crew game until just after 7:30. Guess what happened just before 7:30? Lucas Zelarayan.
Do you think that this was like like you needed a young person to help you with the technology, or what was going on?
How does this work?
Did you have the input set right, or?
So while I was spazzing out, angrily clicking around.
What drink did you have at the ready?
Wine.
At the time, I just had a beer.
Okay, all right. So do you have any like younger neighbors that you could call in the future? This kind of thing?
And that was Bally Sports' last, Crew match that they were broadcasting, right? It's going to go to Apple next year, so.
Yeah. No, I think this game in general was poorly covered in this terms of the hype up leading up to it. I was at a restaurant and they had an issue getting it up on the screen. They all put on the Cavs game that was going on the other Bally, and then they go to the other one. It should have been pushed. I know the other game ended up on get more of the focus, but this game should have probably been on at one of the majors today, I believe, because it's such an important game.
It's NBA preseason. It was also on NBA TV. It should have been blacked out on Bally. Like, doesn't make any sense.
How's I got you even better than that? So once I actually found it on the app for Bally, I was driving home from my men's league soccer game tonight, and so I literally had the phone up on the screen so I could watch it. Well, Ben knows I have this problem where when the Bluetooth connects in my car, some random ringtone app starts ringing, and I can't figure out how to turn it off. So midway through watching the game tonight, the ringtones just start ringing. So I've got commentary, video, and then ringtones ringing that I then have to shut the app, go into the ringtones, shut the ringtones, restart the Bally app, and then start driving again. And then about 2.5 minutes later, ring, 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 ring. Yeah.
We're the oldest people I've ever seen.
Yep.
We need help.
Now, that being said, Crew looked amazing in the first half. Good effort. Lots of good play. Z taking the free kick and recognizing that the keeper was that far off his line. And then to be able to execute and play the ball from just inside the half was absolutely amazing. Fantastic.
May I say, inspired by the Crew 2 game that he was at, where he witnessed Crew 2 get scored on from half field.
And I guess Etienne came out after the game or on Twitter, one of the two, and said, would you actually believe this guy doesn't even practice free kicks that much?
I would not believe that.
Yeah.
Nope. Yeah, I just saw the highlight, obviously, because I was at Hamilton. And I don't know if you guys knew that I was at Hamilton, but that's where I was. So I didn't get to see it. But I saw the highlights. And it seemed like he got fouled pretty hard right before and he hit the ground. And then he put the ball down, waited a second. I think he only took like 2 steps and then just placed it. It was hilarious. It looked like the goalie turned around just like, well, there that went.
Yeah, the goalie didn't. It almost seemed like the goalie didn't know that it was going in.
Oh no,
you
he
saw him
totally saw it.
backpedal. You
He
saw him
totally saw
backpedal,
it.
but he, usually when this kind of thing happens, there's a theatrical flail, right? There's a jump and you got the one arm up in and they land on their back and then have this look of exasperation, like, what just happened kind of thing. This guy, he backpedaled a little, but he just watched it go in.
But it wasn't like he wasn't ready. He was set. Like, he was set and in place, watching it. Everyone, I mean, maybe not everyone, but like, it wasn't like he wasn't paying attention. He was set and ready, and he got chipped.
Yeah.
Pip chipped.
Let me focus a little bit about the players, a little bit how they executed today, because I wonder sometimes if some of them are listening to a podcast, because I saw a couple of things in this game that I haven't seen in a while. Nagby actually took the ball, turned up, and actually attacked up the field a little bit more. He was much more positive, like him be. Yes, he might miss a couple of more passes than he normally is when he's passing backwards, but it creates a totally different dimension. Morris was hustling up and down the field. He was creating chances and proved again that he doesn't know how to shoot. I mean, that's nothing new, but pass it off.
Not left-footed.
Yeah, let somebody else shoot it. And Zelrayan and Hernandez came back into that group where they actually find each other all the time. So we were listening to the Charlotte coverage, and they were talking about these guys. They're like, they know where each other is at all time. They have this this connection. They know where they are all the time. And then our wingers were just dangerous the entire game. They were up and down, creating chances. Diaz was the good Diaz. We talk about Diaz, how he's up and down and you never know what to get. He was the good kind today, and he can easily had another goal. He had a really good shot in the first half. A little more height on that. He could have beat his countryman in goal there. I believe he's a fellow
Costa
Rican. There we go.
Yeah, I wanted to ask
it was
about
a great
that
ball
goal.
into him.
So, I mean, it didn't really seem like a fluke. It was a nice movement. I think Pedro started the sequence. There was, but from left back, and I think there were 3 or 4 touches that led up to it. I don't know that the service was to Diaz.
The couple of passes leading up to that goal, it was great. It's one of our better periods of that game where we really get the flow. There's a couple of good combinations. You got Cucho's flick on, and you got Etienne on the wing breaking down. He cuts inside, and he was expecting Zelrayan, I think, that was in the box to get it. And you saw he was disappointed. And then you see the ball just continued all the way over to Diaz in the far post, and he would knocking it in. So it's one of those things. If Diaz doesn't complete his run and putting in that effort, that's never a goal. And that's what we saw today. We saw energy. This game was night and day from what we saw last week. This is more like how we know the team can play for about 89 minutes.
Yeah, so so that's what I wanted to ask about was, we didn't spend much time talking about the lineups, but one difference between this week and or today and a few days ago on Saturday was that the bench on Saturday had our crew 2 guys. They weren't there today. Could they have been? Do we know whether we could have changed our bench because this was a makeup game? Or
I don't know if they can make the bench. I don't think they would make a difference. I think both of those two guys are guys that brings extra energy and can give us something more offensively like they did last game. In this game, I think we're playing well. Everything's working pretty well.
So they weren't missed, right?
I would say they were missed. I mean, you always want to have options on the bench, but I don't think today it could have mattered. But today, I don't think that was the cause.
Yeah, it looks like we only made one sub. We brought in Will for Diaz at the 89th minute. So that's the only sub we made. It looks like Charlotte made 2 at half, and they ended up bringing on Daniel Rios, and he's the guy that scored 4 goals Saturday or something like that, or last time they played. So that guy's a monster
and scored tonight.
Yeah, so he comes on, and again, I didn't see the game, but So, Luis scores, great. We're up 2-0. And then it looks like Rio scored in the 58th. And then I actually did see, yeah. So I did see the goal at the end of the game, the 94th. And I saw that it was also Daniel Rios with the assist. Why do we keep letting these go? Like, what happened? Can someone explain to me what happened?
Yeah, so this is kind of what I wanted to talk about was, I wanted to spend a little time talking about the first part of the game where we took our lead, the collapse, and when did it start? Right, I sketched out a few spots where I think that this kind of started, or at least where it progressed. The first was the Rios goal that you mentioned. That kind of seemed like a momentum shift. We got our second goal in the 54th something minute, right? We were feeling really good. It was beautiful. A few minutes later, they score 2-1. I don't know that I really felt a huge momentum shift there, but it changed the game, right? That I think that it woke our guys up a little bit. You saw Caleb starting to pace a little more on the sidelines, right? Like he's starting to see this this inevitability start to take shape again, right? Charlotte made subs at the beginning, say 81st, 82nd, 83rd minute. They brought a couple new folks in. Is that when things changed?
Yeah, the first goal where things changed. I think the game at that point was just about to be over. You can tell the crowd was starting getting out of it. You can tell the energy started getting a little bit reduced on their end, and they needed a win. They knew that they needed 3 goals. They needed 3 goals at that point to have a chance for the playoffs. A draw wasn't good enough for them. And when you get that goal, you open up the door, there might be a chance. And they have desperation. And it's always hard to defend against desperation if you don't execute against the opportunity that you are provided because of that. And I would say, first of all, on that goal, is I can't remember how it started, if it started with a giveaway, but we're definitely out of balance. And it ended up with Santos in the far, on the left side of the box, and he has 2 guys suddenly on him, and he doesn't follow either one of them. And they've won, Rios, I guess, is the one scoring, has an open header pretty much, uncontested. So that was pretty frustrating. And that really created like that whole dynamic of the craziness. It was after that goal, this game went gong hao, or whatever you call it. We were up and down the field, and it was chances. We had 2-3 chances to finish it. You had Silverayan with one, you had Cucho with one, where the goalie doesn't know what's happening. It just hits him straight on both of the chances. A little bit to the side, we would have been up, game over. But instead, they're putting more and more people. They actually swapped both the wingers, and they killed us on the wings and got all the crosses in at the end.
Well, so after the subs, and I don't think that that's really where the shift happened. I mean, I think that I think we were holding our own, right? That even though it was only 1 goal lead, I think we were holding our own. What stood out to me was the scuffle in the 85th minute or so, where they got this big dust up going. I thought it was funny that Cucho seemed to be completely rehabilitated, because instead of speaking his mind, he covered his mouth while he spoke his mind.
He still spoke his mind, though. A week after being suspended for language, you get a yellow card for language, and
ridiculous.
Yeah.
That was dissent. He wasn't involved in it.
Was that
There must have been.
Was that the reason for the yellow card?
Was it dissent or was it language?
They didn't show it on TV. They didn't show
Just so long as
what
he
happened.
doesn't say the word.
So, so there was a big dust up there toward the end, and I think it took us off our rhythm.
Well, so Cucho gets the yellow for whatever he did there. same exact time.
Yep.
Diaz gets subbed off, gets a yellow for taking too much time getting off the field.
You saw Porter. No, you
And then,
saw
like,
you saw
they called
Porter.
it
A
Other
few
put
minutes
Sands
later,
in.
Room gets a yellow.
It looked like a plea. It looked like a plea. He grabbed the man's now there was that long pause because they were still looking at the tape from the scuffle. Diaz was, strolling off slowly and got the yellow, as you said. And it looked like Porter, and I think that this is part of this larger approach and strategy for the game, right? Ben, you said it. There were no subs in this game until the 7th, 8th minute when Sands came on. Somebody help me. 89th minute when Sands came on. Porter. Well, yeah, but that was just at the beginning.
Outside of the
right?
Deganek,
'Cause
the
Mens
Deganek initial
is,
sub to start the game.
injured. So it looked to me like, and I didn't hear what he said, but the vibe I got was, I'm making this sub. I've told everyone that I don't know what to do. So I didn't make any subs all game. And so here I'm going to put Sands in, and he's telling Sands, like, keep it out, right? Clear the ball. And honestly, it was from that point that you knew there was another one going in. Who didn't think that they were going to score again? Did anyone here actually think we were going to win the game?
I was worried we're going to lose it.
Yeah, exactly.
And you know what? If it wasn't for Room today, we would have.
That's right. He deserves credit.
Yes, completely agree. And everyone hates on Room. And I understand. I hate on him sometimes as well. I mean, sometimes it just looks like he doesn't make an effort. But when you look at the statistics,
he did a great job.
He's one of the top 5 goalkeepers in the league.
He did a great job at the end of the. Yeah, you saw that double save.
Made huge
it may have been
saves.
a single and an assist. Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's what's happening in front of him that's the biggest issue. Both goals were caused by runners not being tracked into the box, and you could see it. I mean, I've just went back and watched it. It's the exact same thing both times. The first one, Josh Williams doesn't track his runner. The second one, Dejanek goes to ground after Josh Williams goes to ground, gets up, doesn't find where he should be, and Nagbe doesn't. I'm not going to blame Nagbe because he was marking the two people at the top of the box, but the guy goes in right past him, and there's nothing Room can do at that point in time. It was poor. The defending in the box was poor. Charlotte had 26 crosses, compared to the Crew's 9. I mean, that was clearly their game plan. Not going to blame Porter. Players on the field got to do better.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at the stats running down through here. I mean, we had 17 total shots. That's a lot of shots. And I think, let's see, shots on target too were around 10, which is like phenomenal. I do have a question because I didn't see the game. So I'm looking down through here. They score. It's 2-1 in the 58th minute. And then Charlotte makes 2 subs at the 75th minute, another sub at the 81st minute. So they made the changes. And then in the 87th minute, 88th, we get yellow cards during that scuffle. So basically, from what I'm looking at, we're up 2-1. They make changes. We make no changes. It seems that scuffle may have been, people being tired or whatever it was. Then we get 2 yellows. Then we only make 1 sub to get on fresh legs. And then after that, we even have 2 more yellows, Eloy and Etienne, and they don't have any yellow cards. So
yeah, I don't really know. Watching it back, the scuffle kind of was a really heated game that was back and forth.
Sure.
And it really kind of seemed to be natural. Our yellow cards were time wasting cards. That's all they were. The game
Diaz.
Well, yeah, but I mean that was during the scuffle. The Eloy Room and the Diaz one. were definitely time wasting ones, and that's fine. I mean, at the end of the day, this team just did what this team does.
So
and
from what you
doesn't
guys were
close out
watching,
games.
you had no problem with not making subs to counter what they were doing, because it seems like that's what you guys are saying. Again, I didn't see it, so I didn't get a chance, but it seems like you were okay with the play and the flow of the game towards the end, even though we have a tendency to give up those late goals, and nothing Porter could have done would have changed the outcome.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing that how I see it is, I like the Sands to get a little bit more fresh legs on the left. We don't really have a good alternative on the right, and he was doing all right. The other thing is, I mean, clearly they didn't follow your advice. They should have put in Bush at the end of the game, and then just see it out.
Yeah, 2 goalies is always
It's better than one.
Right move. Correct.
That's what I always say.
Well, and not only that, but there's no other real good depth options at center back either. With Mensah being out for this game, you've already got Williams and Dejanik in there.
The only one taller than 5'7" on the bench, I think, was Alibaba. I mean, like, you have Pegme, or whatever his name is, Molino, Yeboah. I mean, we only have so many players that have any size to deal with these crosses. So that's another thing. It was only Alibaba, and he's known to making some errors.
Ben, I think watching this game, it was 50-50. It was going back and forth. We were actually getting a lot of release on the counter back at them. They just tended to, at the end of the day, they just executed their crosses finally. We weren't able to clear the ball out, and we lost the mark one too many times.
And I tell you, that cut he does, instead of just shooting at the goal and cutting it back across to the 6, it's a beautiful solution. I got to give credit there. I mean, that's the only thing he could have done pretty much there and create some danger, was to like cut it, and he looped it in. He had 2 guys versus 1, and they were overloaded and got that goal. If he tried to shoot, he wouldn't get anything from it. He was blocked, too many bodies. So credit to them for that as well, and they really were fighting for it. We probably could have been a little bit better at killing it off, though, earlier.
Yeah, so both goals were header goals. Again, I didn't see the second one. I did analyze the first one. The first one, I will give some grace to Santos. If you watch it again, it seems like it is a counterattacking move, because I didn't see prior to that. The guy's kind of 5 yards off the top of the box, to the right side. And it looks like Santos is tracking his man, but he stutter steps for a second to keep the offside line, but the guy's not tight on him. So he realizes too late when he stutter steps that guy's still going to be onside after the ball is played. So it looks like he just didn't trap.
I thought the exact same thing when I watched it the first time. When you go back and watch it again, it's Williams that loses his mark. And that second,
I was wondering why there were 2
that
people.
second runner coming through was because Williams did not pick him up. Santos had stepped back to be in position for the backside runner. Williams didn't track him. That's what it was. I thought the exact same thing. I was yelling at Pedro. Not him. Not his fault.
So we talked about this before we jumped on here. The way that things ended up shaping up between Miami and Orlando, which I don't think we need to get into more detail than that Miami won 4-1. We really only need to not lose to Orlando to make it above the line, and we can, restart this conversation, talk about what it's going to take to stay alive in the playoffs. Before we do that, what do we need to do to not lose against Orlando? What's the strategy for Sunday?
We got to go out and knock them in the face. This team is already down. So we would just have to start like we played this game. And I think if we come out hard enough and come in with a 3-0 lead, we might actually win it.
Yep, I agree. Right now, Orlando's 8-8 at home with no ties. So come out, kick them in the teeth, get up a couple goals, and keep doing what they did tonight and hope for the best result.
Hey, I want to go back to episode 1. And for the listeners to have been around from the very start of this
The
pod,
OGs. Yeah.
I
How
don't know
long
if
has
you
it been?
guys.
Dedicated.
How far back do we need?
Brought to you by Mort Says I'm Right.
Yes, this is. Not
This
saying
is,
I was
this is probably
right.
between 6 and 8 days ago. All right. go
Hashtag
ahead.
self brag. So I said 5 points would be enough, right? Still the case. Even if we won.
Yeah, we know more.
Hey, here's the thing. Even if we won this game, a tie, we still would need a tie. The only thing that would have been different was that we would go ahead of that team down south. So that would be in a big, big difference. But we know this. I said Orlando would choke. They're choking hard. Miami's on fire. They're solid. I even said it would be a close game at New York City. It's a close game against New York City. The dream scenario now for us is that we're tying this game, not winning, tying this game, and Cincy chokes in DC, and Orlando would jump over Cincy based on number of games won, and we will be in, Orlando will be in that Queen, whatever city down south, they will be out. So that's my
There's too many Queen cities.
yeah, too many Queen cities.
Cincinnati, yeah, Charlotte, Cincinnati, and whatever. Is it Orlando or who cares?
Yep.
Honestly, yeah, I'm going to say something controversial, and I know I've talked to most of you guys about this, but I don't hate Cincinnati. I love the rivalry. I think it's great. I hate Austin.
Yeah.
That's the team I'm always rooting against. You know, and I understand that they have some ex-crew players. You know, they're coached by Wolf, who I really respect, but man, everything about that, I don't like Austin. I mean, I will always never like Cincinnati just based on the rivalry. I feel like it's akin to, you know, I know some people, and I know Haas is not like this, but it's the Cleveland Cincinnati people really don't like the Steelers or really don't like the Ravens, especially the Ravens, because that's what took Cleveland away from Cleveland. So to me, I'm always going to be anti-Austin.
This is kind of how I feel about Haas, right? So like when like we've been playing fantasy football for 10 years now, I think. And I've always said about Haas, I always want him to win. I want him to win all the way to the championship, and then I want to beat him in the championship, you know, because you want your rivals to do well, just not against you, right? So I'm with you, Ben.
Thank you. That's a hill I will absolutely die on.
So what I'm hearing is, I heard you say we need to go on the offensive. We need to come out and strike Orlando. Is there a risk that we open ourselves up to getting scored on and doing that? Do we make any changes in the backfield? How do we protect ourselves from?
Can I add to that question? I'm sorry. Are we going to make any changes to the starting lineup tonight? Unless Mensah is healthy. That's the only change I see happening. Or Molino. Those are the only two changes I could see potentially happening in the game. I'm curious if anyone thinks we'd have a different starting lineup come Sunday.
That's the only one worth making.
Unless they think Artur will be fresh and it provides some benefit for us. That's the only thing. I don't agree with it, but that's the one that I could see.
Yeah, I think either way, any of those three people is a good shout. I don't think it really matters. I think the most important thing is historically Porter and the way he plays is terrible at parking the bus. So going there and thinking about getting a result like a tie is ironically not what we should do. And I don't think that's what he's going to do. I think he's going to play that the same way we've always been playing, with the same people, and just go out there and try to do exactly what we did tonight, is like jump out front, and then, you know,
I think
whatever
right.
happens in the last 10 minutes happens.
I think you're right. It's we have proven a dozen times that we cannot win with defense at the end of the game. So yeah, we got to win with the goals.
I think we're safe in saying the Crew 2 players will not be there on Sunday, because they're probably not going to travel.
They're playing on Saturday.
I doubt they're going to travel to Orlando. If it was at home, I'd say, good chance. So that leaves us with our cast of characters that are not very impressive in terms of players off the bench.
So talk about the stats between these two teams. It's not in our favor. Orlando has 8 wins, there's 3 ties, and we have won 6. They have won 2 of the 3 last games, and one in last fall we won 3-2. So it's another close one, but that's MLS. But in the form they're in right now, they're not looking good. But at the same
They're
time,
fighting for their lives.
when they lost a couple in a row, it's time to come back and really put in the work. So I'm a little nervous about that fact. The fact that they actually been stinking so bad. They lost 4 out of 5 games. They were in pole position. They lost 4 out of 5 games here.
Yeah, they win, they're in. It's gonna be a really, really intense game either way.
Yeah, we talk about how tight it is and how interesting it is in East, because obviously that's what we care about, and that's the awesome part of the table. But in the West, we have some incredible matchups. So let me go through the table real quick here. In 5th place, we have Nashville at 47. We have Portland at 46. We have Minnesota at 45. Salt Lake at 44. And Vancouver at 43. So Nashville playing LAFC in the last game. LAFC have already won everything. I think they will manage to get a draw and be safe. So I'm not going to focus so much on them. It's the next 4 teams from 6th through 9th place. We have Portland, Minnesota, Salt Lake, and Vancouver. Portland in 6th place is playing Salt Lake in 8th place. Minnesota in 7th place is playing Vancouver in 9th place. We have actually a situation there where we can actually flip it. So if the 2 teams that are in the spots in 6th and 7th place now loses, they can actually end up outside, both of them outside this. So everybody there has a shot. Vancouver, actually, this is an interesting part too in the way they do it in MLS now. Vancouver's in 9th place. If they win their game and Portland loses, they're both ending up in 46th, but Vancouver will have the game once, tiebreaker, and that's how they're going to go through. So there's going to be a very, very interesting decision day this year. There's a lot on the line.
So we'll keep an eye on that. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of exciting things to watch. Hopefully we have good things to talk about on Sunday. Also, just want to wish the best to Neil, Jordan, and Brett with Bally Sports. Appreciate listening to you all call the games. Not sure what it's going to look like with Apple next year, but hope for nothing but the best for you guys. Until Sunday, go Crew. Thanks everyone for joining the club. We hope you'll listen next week and every week, even in the off season, to celebrate or commiserate. We'll save you a seat. If you like this podcast, please give us 5 stars and subscribe. You can email us at upper90clubpod@gmail.com. That's upper90clubpod@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at upper90clubpod. Go Crew!